Welcome, everyone, to the MMA Happy Hour podcast. I am Kyle Anthony, your host, where today we are talking UFC Baku, headlined by Rafael Fiziev and Manuel Torres. We're going to be breaking down 4 plays here on the show today. Now, last weekend, we visited a place I like to call Sweep City. We did it again. We ended up sweeping the board 5-0 on our client plays. We ended up cashing in 11 units of profit for clients and ended up capping it off with our 4% play, which was on Christian Rodriguez. Just absolutely dominated, ran through Hyder Emil, knocked him down, dropped him, submitted him unconscious. Just a great night. And we're looking to do it all again in Baku in the morning here. And if you want to become a client, I already have a 4% play up, 3 plays in total. So check that out down below. And we definitely don't have an event next week, which is nice. I'm going to go enjoy Atlantic City with a couple people, have some fun. But the following week, we've got some big things to talk about here with the McGregor card, and I'm going to have a ton of plays for that one. So stay tuned. But with that being said, let's dive into the main event of the evening between Rafael Fiziev and Manuel Torres. Now, you've got Fiziev sitting at -115 on the comeback here. We've got Torres at +105. Now, Fiziev is an elite Muay Thai striker, has top tier striking, incredible kicking arsenal, great level changing kicks to the body, to the head, can mix it up, good distance management. And one thing that he's been able to do is he started to add in some wrestling. We've seen him recently kind of mix in the wrestling, find opportunities to get the takedown and kind of keep his opponent off balance. Now, he is on a 1-4 run in the UFC, not looking that great, but again, who he has faced is very high level. Obviously, losing to Gaethje twice, not a bad look there. Ruffy, Gamrot, top tier guys who he is losing to. While you've got Torres on the other side here, who is just an absolutely explosive finisher. 17 career wins, 16 by stoppage, 9 KOs, 7 submissions. And this is a guy who's going to come right out the gate, swinging, throwing, a kill or be killed type of fighter where he's going to get in your face. He's going to look to throw. All of his wins come in the very first round. I think even his losses come in the first round. So he's going to go out there and he's going to look for those finishes. The only time that he has been outside of the first round, or last time, was 2018. 2018, and another organization at winning a decision. So again, this guy is a kill or be killed fighter. Now, the one big red flag here on Fiziev for me is definitely going to be the injuries. Now, sometimes that's hard to quantify. It's hard to, how bad is it, those kinds of things. But in 2023, he blew out his knee against Gamrot, was a very bad look, was out for about a year and a half. Just not great. Came back, and I thought he looked far less explosive. I thought he looked slower, not as sharp, not as confident in his striking for a guy that was very confident, when he entered the UFC. And I thought it was a bad look, it has been just some bad looks for him. And then we even see in October of last year, he had another injury where he pulled out against Charles Oliveira, very last minute, where he was in the main event. And now, not really sure what the extent of that injury was, but still he pulled out, and it's just dealing with multiple injuries. The best ability is availability. And if he's not fully 100%, that's not what we're going to get as a product on Saturday night, or Saturday morning, we should say here. But for a high-level striker that Fiziev is, which he is, there's no question about that, he is not very defensively sound. This is a guy that has a negative striking differential. He is there to be hit. He has a absolute vulnerability to strikes down the middle. And that's kind of really what Torres throws. He likes to throw these long punches straight down the middle. He blitzes forward, and that has been really where, you've got, Rafael getting hit. And even in the strikes in the pocket, the boxing, you saw even Justin Gaethje. I'm not comparing Gaethje and Torres, but the path of boxing, he found a lot of success getting in tight, not just standing at kicking range and getting in tight and landing the big shots. And Torres has absolutely dynamite in both of his hands here, where this is somebody that can, if he lands something, it's going to be impactful. Plus, Torres lands on average 3 more significant strikes per minute than Fiziev, while Fiziev absorbs more damage over his career in the UFC. So for a guy that doesn't land as much, but is getting hit more, especially on such a power puncher, that opens opportunities, honestly, for me here on the Manuel Torres side. And Fiziev only has 1 win since 2022, and that was against Ignacio Bahamondes in a fight where he needed takedowns. He got 4 takedowns in that fight. He absolutely needed it. He needed to mix it up. He was finding success in that fight, but still needed the takedowns, and I don't think the takedowns are where Fiziev wants to go here. We might have some wrestling, but he doesn't really have the grappling side of things. And Torres is an elite level grappler. So if this fight goes to the ground, or he looks for, or Fiziev looks for a takedown, puts his head in the wrong spot, I think that a submission is absolutely live here as well. But I think being the harder hitter between these two, the heavy blitzing forward, the volume, the shots that Fiziev absorbs, I like Manuel Torres to win inside the distance here. You're going to be getting some plus money at plus 115. I like that. I think he gets the job done. And I just think Fiziev is starting to slow down here. So give me Manuel Torres inside the distance at plus 115. And the next one here we're going to talk about is going to be Almabayev. He is minus 260 on the comeback here. We've got Charles Johnson. He is plus 200. Now you got Asu, who is an absolutely top tier wrestler with fantastic cardio. He's going to come forward. He's going to look to push the pace. He's going to look to stay in your face. He's going to chain wrestle. He's not going to, really give you much space and just stay on you and try to win positionally. Now, he is small for the division, but what he does have is strength. He's very, very strong. He can bully opponents. He can drag them down to the mat, and we've seen him do that against bigger opponents. He is 6-1 in the UFC. The only loss that he has, is actually against Manuel Cap. Shout out to Manuel Cap for cashing us a ticket last week. But, which was actually a fight that Cap almost did like a double eye poke before landing the finishing combination, which was kind of a bad look going back and watching it. But, losing to Cap, the only guy you've lost to in the UFC, is, I think, a pretty solid showing overall. Now, you've got Johnson here on the other side, who is a well-rounded guy with some good footwork. He's got fast combinations, good distance management, good at range, good footwork, stays in and out of the pocket, can mix it up, and he can get into that flow state and really find, shots and find opportunities. But throughout his career, he has definitely been someone who has been absolutely inconsistent, someone you just really can't count on. You'll have a really great performance and then just have an absolutely flat, bad performance, and that's what makes him very, very tough to kind of trust. Plus, being the fact now he's 35 years old in the lower weight classes, you can see skills start to decline at that point. So he has, kind of has that as well. But the big red flag here on the Charles Johnson side, no doubt, is going to be his weak takedown defense. There's just no doubt about it. Opponents that wanted to take him down were able to take him down. And then he, strung together some wins, which were primarily against strikers. Guys aren't going to look for takedowns. Guys aren't going to mix in any type of takedowns. And that's where he found success. Now, you look at some of the losses here. You got Muhammad Makayev. Now, obviously, Muhammad Makayev is, an unbelievable wrestler here, but still had 12 takedowns, 12 minutes of control time. O'Day Osborne, 3 takedowns, 3 takedowns, got the victory. Cody Durden, 11 takedowns, 10 minutes of control time, got the victory. Rafael Estevam, 3 takedowns, 9 minutes of control time, got the victory. And I think that Johnson's weakness lines up very well with the strength of Almabayev in the wrestling category. And the other issue here for Johnson is the fact that he does not like pressure. Again, he's a guy that wants to be at range. He wants to get the striking going, get in that flow state, pot shots from a distance, keep the distance, keep range, throw a front kick. That's kind of his game. He does not want to be pressured. He's not, he's very comfortable when he's on that front foot. When he's on that back foot, he's pressured. He can start to really kind of back up, not really feel as comfortable, not let his hands go as much. And now you've got a guy in Asu who's going to be aggressive, who's going to come forward, but then have the takedowns in front of that, which I think is a double whammy against Charles Johnson here, needing to defend those and trying to keep this fight standing. I think the takedown threat will also open up strikes for Asu, where he's going to be looking to defend and then looking to be able to land shots. I think that opens up for him, but I do think that Asu is going to dominate the control time. I think he's going to get the takedowns. He's going to bully him a little bit. He's going to drag him down, win positionally, bank rounds. Johnson only been finished 1 time in his professional career. That was actually his last fight against Alex Perez, where he was knocked out in that first round, which not the greatest look there. Maybe that durability is starting to go down, but I do think Asu can get the takedowns, get the control time, and win on the judges' scorecards here. So getting up the minus 260 number, I do like Almabayev by decision at plus 105. And the next one here we're talking about is Nursulton Ruziboev. He is minus 250 on the comeback here. We have Andrey Pulyaev. He is plus 190. Now you've got Ruziboev here, who is very big for the division with finishing instincts. This is a guy that is 36-9 in his career. So in a very extensive MMA career, out of his 36 victories, 33 come inside the distance, with most of those wins coming in the first round. So very similar, to Torres, where they don't really get paid by the hour. They go out there, look for the finish, get paid, go home. Now he is a long range striker, and you've got him where, he has that striking, but he does have the wrestling. That's kind of almost, his primary is the wrestling here. But since he's entered the UFC, he has not, even a little bit before that, but he has not really looked to wrestle. He's really looking to kind of, fire big shots. He believes in his power. He's finding the opportunity to land these big shots, get these finishes. So why not keep doing that? But that's kind of what he's been leaning on. Now you got Pulyaev here, who is primarily a striker here with far less experience, which will be interesting to see kind of how that plays out. He is 10-4 as a pro, 1-2 in the UFC, but did lose to two very good opponents in the UFC. Christian Leroy Duncan, who is a long, rangy, high-level striker, very athletic striker, and also lost to Gautier, who is, the next big thing, a big phenom, absolute power puncher. And it is impressive that he didn't get finished by either one of those opponents. I thought that was actually, a pretty good sign for him that he didn't have to, because it showed that he's got good durability. He's only been finished one time in his professional career. He took a beating, kept going forward, and that's how this all played out. Now, that kind of fits into where I'm capping this and how I'm capping this fight here, is because Ruziboev is going to be an absolute beast in round one. He's going to come out guns blazing. We know what he's about. Now, the difference between Ruziboev and Torres is the fact that Torres, we really haven't seen him go far. In fights. We haven't seen him get to the second, get to the third multiple times. He did it one time, and that was in 2018. And so it's hard to say, is his cardio bad, or is he just a kill or be killed fighter? With Ruziboev, we have seen multiple times where he can slow down, where outside of the first round, things can start to get sloppy. He can be a little bit more lower volume. He can get a little bit wild. And that really is where, if the finish doesn't materialize in that first round, I do think that there's opportunities for Pulyaev to start to land. He's got decent striking, doesn't have the power, but the decent striking, I think he's a better minute winner here than Ruziboev here. Ruziboev is 3-7 to the decision. So proving the fact that if this goes to the scorecards, there is a likelihood he just does not put out that volume. He does not land as much. He really depends on those big moments and the KO or the finish. And the last fight that Ruziboev had, which I thought was really a terrible showing going back and watching it, was against Dustin Stoltzfus. Now, Dustin Stoltzfus is not very good, lower level fighter here, but Stoltzfus hurt him multiple times. Strikes landed was 35-21 on significant strikes with some scrappy moments. I thought it was just a bad look for a guy like that, really I thought was kind of set up for Ruziboev to kind of run through him. And then it was all of a sudden competitive here. So outside of, Ruziboev, nuking him in that first round, landing that big shot, I do think there's going to be competitive rounds. I do think there's going to be opportunities here for Pulyaev to start to land some shots. And at a 2-1 underdog, there is value absolutely on the Pulyaev side. And I think I'm kind of more leaning on the Pulyaev durability. I think it extends this fight. I think that, Ruziboev can start to slow down outside of nuking him in that first round. So give me Andrey Pulyaev here at plus money, plus 190. I like that spot as a little sprinkle spot. It's going to be Andrey Pulyaev plus 190 to get the job done. And the last one here we're going to talk with is going to be Farman. Oh, let me change this here. Farman Hasanov, he is minus 185 in the comeback here. We've got Eric Nolan. He is plus 150. Now, there's no doubt about it. This is going to be a low-level fight. There's no question about it. You've got Hasanov has 5 career fights. He's 5-0. He is from Azerbaijan, which is why he is on this card. And you've got Nolan, who's 8-4 as a professional, just lost his UFC debut by submission in the second round. But when you look at Hasanov, he's making his UFC debut on home soil. So this is a very big spot for him here, getting eyeballs on him, and just a very, very big spot for him. And you've got a fighter in him that is very aggressive, going to come out guns blazing, going to really push the pace early, and has that strong wrestling. And he's a national wrestling champion from Azerbaijan, which is probably again why he is positioned where he is in the featured fight of the prelims, is just to kind of give him a little bit of shine there. Probably a known fighter in that region. Now, he is very athletic, has a A lot of strength, a lot of physicality. That's where he kind of bullies opponents, moves forward. And also with the striking, he's got some power, throws everything with 100% power and not economical with his cardio. So he is redlining it and he is looking for those finishes. While Nolan is a well-rounded fighter overall, does have some nice boxing, probably the more technical striker, I think, between these two. Decent volume, fights decently well behind his jab. But, the big vulnerability on the Nolan side is his wrestling. He doesn't have very good defensive wrestling. If this plays out on the feet for 3 rounds, there's a chance that Nolan is going to make this very, very competitive. But the path of least resistance here for Hasanov is going to be takedowns. It's going to be looking for takedowns, getting that control time. Once that gets to the ground, he's going to have a large grappling advantage. He has extremely damaging, brutal ground and pound. He's got, big time power hitter here, where if he gets on top, I think he hunts for that finish. Again, he's going to be a guy that is going to be in a spot on his home soil. I think he's going to be looking to put a stamp on this fight overall. And I think that also Nolan, he's a guy that can be submitted. So even if that's where he wants to go here, where Nolan, out of his 4 career losses, 2 of them are by submission. So again, it could be the ground and pound, it could be a submission here, but I do think that Farman has Navar, if that's how you say it, is going to be able to find this finish inside the distance here. So getting off the -185, I'm going to take Hasanov inside the distance at +120 to get the job done. So you have it for my plays for UFC Baku. If you want to become a client, link down in the description. I've got 3 plays up right now for clients, a 4-unit play in there. We're going to keep this hot streak going here. I love this card from a betting perspective. Don't forget, this is at 9 in the morning. Next week, we are going to be off. And then the following week, we've got a ton to talk about on the McGregor card. So with that being said, let's kill it this week. Let's dominate again. Let's get back to Sweep City. And I'll see you in 2 weeks. And let's cash.